Right. So, hey, blended family people, I have an amazing show going on today. I have my actual business coach. He's been a friend as well. Wow, Howard, I believe it's going on about 4 years, maybe five.
Yeah,
Maybe,
almost, yeah, a little over four because we're
yeah,
down here. We
actually,
met at GMT.
yeah, Major is seven now. So I want to say going on 7 years. Howard White, we're going to be talking about real dads, real leaders. It's going down. Giving you a little background. If this is your first time to the show, my name is Marcus Holmes. I am the Blended Family Guy. This is the Blended Family Playbook. And where we are trying to take you is from just surviving to overwhelmingly thriving. We talk about blended family issues from the traditional sense, where, in terms of marriage. We also talk about how to blend your career, your life, your relationships, and understanding that you don't have to leverage one against the other in order to be successful. So I'm interviewing entrepreneurs with the slant of how are you blending? Because here's the thing. Don't tell me you have a successful career. Don't tell me you're climbing the corporate ladder, but you're leaving your family behind. Your marriage is on the rocks. Your children are disparate. They're not connected to you. So where I'm going is I want to interview entrepreneurs. I want to interview business owners. I want to interview relationship experts that are helping us as a community to thrive, right? Because society will tell you, let's leave the family in the background. Let's grind it out. Let's wake up in the middle of the night. Let's work 18 hours. But you're forgetting the people that are most important to you, because at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones that are helping you through the struggle, right? So my point is that this is a great show. Here's what I need you to do. Anybody that's watching this, I want to make sure that you are liking, that you're sharing, that you're caring. Sharing is caring. You guys got to do this, right? I want to make sure you understand. Sharing is caring. Share this broadcast with your community. I know somebody needs to be hearing this, as sometimes you just need to know that, there's other people out there. I know it seems like the statistics show that fatherhood, people being real fathers, is on the decline. It's almost an epidemic. But I'm going to tell you that there's still some good fathers out there. I have one. Howard has a book where he's interviewed people like myself and given their story. So we're about to dive right in. We're about to dive right in. And here's another treat, y'all. Y'all get to hear me and Howard twice, because I'm going to be on his show at 8 p.m. Central. So this is going to be some good stuff. Good stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my man, Howard White, the man who can give you, what is it, Howard? 15,000 in 15 minutes. What is it, Howard?
Tell Not quite that fast. 15K in 45. 25.
And guys, I'm telling you, he's serious about that. If you sit with this gentleman for that 45 minutes, Howard can help you figure out a way to make $15,000 in your business. This is why, again, he is my coach. He helps me out with my wife's business. Really a great guy. But I'm telling you, the only reason he's on this broadcast is because he's also a great father. We talk about that all the time. So without further ado, guys, I just want to introduce Howard White. So Howard, give us a little background. How did you come to this? Just tell us about you, yourself, your family. Just give us a little bit about you, the man.
Yeah. So thanks, Marcus. Thanks, first of all, for having this platform. It's needed. It's much needed. Just through some of the conversations on Real Dad, Real Leaders, we saw a lot of this, the need for it, even more so, simply because as men, we don't share enough about the bad stuff. We brag on the good stuff, but we don't share the backstories, the pain, the hurt, when things are not going great. And so through this here, what I tried to capture, and we've done a great job at it, is literally, and you're featured as one of the authors, just ask you one story. What is one lesson that you use today? And with that one lesson, share the story that taught you the lesson. See, that's it. And I think more is taught than caught. And so that is the main reason to have a book like this. And then
Yes, sir.
after that, we actually have gone in and taken what we call growth thoughts. I put my gift to work then and saying, okay, how can you implement this story? Because hey, it's great to have an idea and information, but if you don't implement it, what good is it? And so that's the premises of the book. I'm a father of one. That's one natural son, one natural born son. That is it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Yeah, I laugh because my wife is here in the hotel room with me as we're out of town right now. She looked at me funny and said, "What are you saying?" He's 19 years old. Nah. But throughout life, if you're active and if you're doing things, you have the opportunity to be what I call a life father to many people. My dad, one of my role models. I grew up in a small town, and literally there were a couple times I would come home in the semester and there were people staying at our house. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, such and such in the community was going through this or that, and their kids, their sons needed somewhere to stay. And, I had a younger brother, so it was perfect. And, I remember twice that happened. And literally when I go back now, some of my dad's, I call them life sons, some of my life brothers. And, we refer to it as that. But that is a piece as we move forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So Howard, this is going to be, I think, a groundbreaking story for me. Oh, and look, here we go. We got Miss Hodge. I see the picture with her father. Taria, make sure you tell your dad, that amazing man, that we said hello, me and Howard. As a matter of fact, guys, if you don't know, Taria, she manages my social media. I believe she also manages Howard. And how I found out about Taria was through Howard. Taria does an amazing job, her and her team, of helping me. All this good stuff that you see is because her and her team are doing it behind the scenes for me. So, Taria, glad you're here. I'll let you go and do your shout out to Taria because she's doing double duty today for both of us.
Yeah, tell her definitely. Tell you, Pops, happy Father's Day, Taria, and hopefully things are well back down in the Virgin Islands. I know he's running through the sand, and inside joke, Taria, tell Charlie I said hello. That's the rooster that's always outside the house when morning calls. But just tell him have fun. I'm glad he's back home this soon.
Absolutely. No, I am so extremely excited. Let's get going. Oh, and here's my man, the man who makes it happen. My dad, he said this is a great subject. That's Mr. Holmes. That's the man we celebrated today. I was able to see my dad earlier, Howard. They just came from a cruise. I believe my brother, his wife, their two kids, my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, and her parents, they went on a 7-day cruise, and they just got back. On their way from Galveston to Houston, they were able to eat dinner with us, so I was able to see, my entire family. It was a great time, and I'll just tell you, I'm learning more and more, Howard, to cherish the time, man. So that 2 hours was good enough for me, but I'm just learning. I want to make sure that I see my parents as often as possible.
Yeah, it only takes a moment to do that, but you got to make times for the moments, and that's just it, and that's what you guys did.
Oh, so Taria said he is right here watching us both. Both my dad and my mom are super proud of the impact you both are making. Will you tell them that makes my day? Makes my day. Please tell mom and dad we said hello. Oh, and Taria said, and Howard, Charlie has been quiet lately. So this is all right. So this is good. All right. So Howard, man, let's get right to it. First question. I know the answer because I remember when you brought this to me.
Yeah.
But let's talk about real dads, real leaders. You're a John Maxwell certified coach. You're certified in a few other disciplines. You have your own coaching program. But tell
Mhm.
us about the genesis of Real Dads, Real Leaders.
Well, it goes back to what I said earlier, Marcus, is that, I can remember I think it was 2013. We were riding up to Jackson, Mississippi, my wife and I, and we were exploring something with her book, basically looking for stories, and couldn't find anything with stories for men. I said, okay, hey, well, see if you can find books put together by men and or about men, and there was nothing there. And so as I started thinking about it, I said, hey, we need to share this. And so as you think about it, we are leaders. Every dad is a leader, and I have this phrase I call "live life," and leadership is vital and essential. Leadership is for everyone, but more so for dads as we train our children is critical. But at the same time, there's no playbook. Never will be a playbook, but you can always look back and learn from others, other
Absolutely.
dads' missteps, other dads' successes. And so that's what we really tried to capture with this, and that's what we wanted to really become a community where dads learn from each other to be better dads. And
Now, Howard, you're a two-time. This is, I think, your second book, right? And I mean, the first one is monumental. I know that you're an entrepreneur. You have your own business. You're doing quite a bit. How do you handle it all? How do you do it?
that's a good question. This is book number 4. It's available on Kindle right now. We didn't quite get the printed copy out, so we're driving to have that out this week, and where people can drive forward. Hey, Eric James Anderson, thanks a lot, man. Um, it's. I think people talk about work-life balance. There's no such thing. I call it work-life harmony, because there'll be times where you're going to be working all the time, but then you got to make time for the other things that are important in your life, and make sure that you drive through that to the things that are important with you. And a lot of times when you're sitting down with someone coaching from a personal standpoint, a lot of times we talk about that as a real, that will of life. But looking at the areas and going back to what's your why? Why do you do what you do, and who do you do it for? And then making sure that you carve that time out. Um, and it may not be in the traditional sense, but it has to work for you and them. And that's the key thing. It has to work for you and them. I was coming down on here, and I don't know the guy, but I just was talking to a guy in the airport, and he was working offshore and living in Indiana. And so literally he was doing 31 on, was it 28 on and 14 off? So he had to make it work somehow. That's totally non-traditional. And so, you have to look at yourself and say, hey, what it is, but you can garner ideas and thoughts from other men, other families, and say, hey, I can try this, and maybe this can work for us. And that is what we hope, others will learn from.
Man, I'm going to tell you, this is a nugget that you had to share with me, Howard, and that is there is no such thing as work-life balance. Because me, when I was coming to you and wanting the coaching around the blended family, and I wanted to make sure I developed a valuable platform for people to understand that you can do both. And I mean, look at me, right? I want to make sure my wife feels that I'm connected to her, my son, my kids, my daughter, even though she's 2,000 miles away. I'm giving my all to work, but I'm also, this is what I'm passionate about. And I was always preaching work life balance, and you had to correct me. And guys, I'm just letting you know, a good coach, a good accountability partner, when they see that you're going wrong in love, they're going to correct you. But he said, Marcus, there's no such thing as balance. There's only 24 hours in a day. You still need about 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And he said, Marcus, you got to strive for harmony. So, guys, I want you to make sure that's a nugget you got to understand. No such thing as work-life balance, strive for harmony. I love Pastor Anderson said something. And so, Howard, this is Pastor Eric Anderson. I attend his church, longtime friend of about 17, going on 18 years. He said something that I also like, or work-life rhythm.
Yeah, you have to create that rhythm, and Pastor Eric James Anderson, as we talk about that, I think that's a key part. You think about the orchestra, and Crystal plays music. The loud instrument has to play in harmony, otherwise it doesn't sound well. and then you have to have rhythm. So it's a combination of both. You can't be too loud, and I like the way you do that, Pastor Anderson. So you have to have both. That rhythm and the harmony, and it's a combination of, because that volume. If you're over empowering, um, you can be in rhythm, but you don't make sweet music, or you can be in rhythm and someone is too loud at the wrong time uh, in the orchestra, and that's the same way it is in life. You don't make sweet music, and so that is, to me, one of the things that you have to look at. And I love that, a work-life rhythm. And so it's hard to be balanced. I mean, if you try to, if you're listening, just stand up on one foot and reach out, and you'll see yourself moving. You're never really in balance. You're trying to stabilize yourself, but you're never really balanced, because everything is never equal. And so no, that's a great point.
That's a great point. This is some good stuff, guys. I'm just letting you know. Hey, I see you, Miranda. That's a good friend from. Wow, I believe Miranda might still be in Alamogordo, but I'm seeing the friends. I see my buddy Ricardo Hicks. We went to North Carolina A&T together. This is some really good stuff. So, can you give everybody the format for the book now?
So yeah, let's do that, because you haven't even seen your own story. One of the things about it is a lot of authors gave me a lot of trust, a lot of leeway. I mean, I've had stories of guys that had never met their dads. I mean, well, I'll say this: maybe met their dad once or twice in their whole life, and they talked about that openly and how they got over it and how they've used that. So it's just a whole gamut of stories. Marcus' story is about, be the model you want to see. So we literally talk about the one lesson. It's one lesson per author. The one lesson my father taught me is to never let work get in the way of spending time with the people you love. He always showed support for me, my brother, my nephew, who had lived with us since we was a toddler. And so he goes on to talk about that. And so as we pull that out, and Marcus shares that fully, and then at the end we actually do what we call growth thoughts. So how do you implement that principle into your life? What modelable traits, quote, are demonstrated on a daily basis? What are you demonstrating on a good basis, and what lessons do the traits demonstrate? So I want you to list 3 of them, so you really work through this for yourself and grow through that one story. What traits do I want to change? And then what traits do I want to add to replace those? And so just simply going through that process, if you're willing to work through it, that's just I guess you can call it the Cliff Notes version of Marcus' story there that he shared with us. But so we've done that with numerous categories, as well as, my mom actually gave her 2 stories. He had to give mom 2 stories, but it were things I didn't even know about my grandfather, who I didn't have a chance to really meet because he was born when I was a toddler. But just imagine learning why your mom's such a good baker. It was the love of her grandfather that when she was 8 years old and baked her first cake, and my grandmother stopped baking cakes. But now, throughout my life, that's what my mom was, but the support from that dad, and just talk about that. How do you, and in growth thoughts, what are those talents and that your kids have that you can support unconditionally to help them grow in it? And so it causes you to think, but learn through stories.
Howard, it appears that as you go through leadership, right? And I mean, we both are John Maxwell certified. You do leadership coaching, consulting from a corporate standpoint, from an individual standpoint. As you grow in leadership, your view, your perspective, it gets more and more filtered through the lens of leadership. What do you say to the mother, the father, that son, that daughter who didn't have a father in their life? And this is Father's Day.
Yeah.
What do you tell them? How do you encourage them? What do you say can fill that gap? Because no matter what people say, people will fill a void. Look at the body. When you have a tooth that's missing, those other teeth in your mouth will try to fill that void, right? So what do you say for them to fill the void correctly? And what does this book help to help in managing that?
Well, I think of two people in particular that wrote stories just to that point. One was a gentleman out of grew up in Alabama, but he's in Carolinas now. I'd never met him other than through the book project. Didn't know him before, but he talked about twice he met his father. Once was for a few minutes at a post office, even though they live right in a similar town. And then the last time was on his father's dying bed because his mom asked him to forgive his father. But what he learned was that throughout life, he embraced what I call the life coaches, the life dads, the football coaches, the that were willing to be in his life, the other mentors, the Sunday school teachers that were willing to pour into him outside of that first primary role. And I think that is one of the key pieces. And he stated the point. He couldn't fill the void, but he could definitely grow. I'm getting a call from one of my life sons, actually, a guy named Charles Dotts. I say that because, I have a retail store and I have a lot of students that have worked for me over the past, 15, 17 years in the store. And he's one of them. And, so they become like, sons. I may not talk to him, as much as I would talk to my son, but, you've made an impact on him during a time and you added a little bit to him. And that's what we hope this book does, is just add a little bit to your life. Just think about it. If each week, each month, you can learn one or two things that will help you move your needle forward, help you realize and have that work-life rhythm and harmony. What difference will it make for your family?
Absolutely. Ooh, that's some good stuff. So I got to make sure I'll get in trouble from Taria if I don't do this. I need you to share this broadcast. I got to say it early and often because I believe this is valuable. There's something already, the nuggets that Howard is already dropping are very key. I love the, striking it's not just balance. So I got something new just now within the last 20 minutes. It's not even just about balance. It's rhythm. It's so replace R&B music.
Rhythm and harmony.
Rhythm and balance music. All right, in your life. Oh, I love that.
Rhythm and harmony. You gotta have that harmony, man. Harmony, not balance. Because instruments are not in balance.
Jesus, oh my goodness, rhythm and harmony. So R and H. All right, it used to be R&B. I need you to have R and H. It's rhythm and harmony. Thank you for correcting me.
So this is R&B is the rhythm and the blues, and it's always it's in harmony.
Yeah. There we go. You know what, Howard? I want to know. Can you, real quick, because if people want a gander and they want to look at the book, where can they go to get it? And can you explain is there a workbook? Is it just the book? Where are you trying to take this?
A couple things. So a couple things going on. Yeah, we great question, Marcus. As we look at it, we like I said, it's live on Kindle now, so you can start reading it tonight and sharing it and reading it tonight. And then secondly, the hardback book will be out and available. For those that join the group this week, we are actually have an additional bonus book. So if you join the group, we'll give you that just for joining the group. Not even just buying the book, but and what those are 31 reflections that embody some of the principles. They're not stories, they're actually reflections that you can use for a month to help you center yourself and have that work-life, harmony, that rhythm and harmony. So you can do that, and then by Wednesday we will have everything available to start ordering the live books this week. So you can actually, so by joining the group, we'll post that in and keep you updated on it.
Excellent.
And literally, you'll be able to get hard copies of the book by next week and have it in your hands and ready to go and grow.
Excellent. Howard, we're at an epidemic stage, as what some people say, and this isn't a this isn't a particular ethnicity challenge. This is a position challenge, right? Fathers in the home. When you look at some of the statistics, it states that on average now, about 30, depending on the study who's doing it, 30 to 40% of children now are growing up without a father that's impacting them. So, how do you manage that, Howard? What is your statement to that mother who is raising her son and she's trying to figure it out? And I know we have the accountability partners, we have plugging into a church, plugging into a mentorship program. Um, what do you think this book can again help them do? What would your advice be to them?
Well, I think it helps see it from, just literally, I was one of the stories we call it, does it pass the sniff test? And it was a story one of my cohorts shared about, what was it, heart, head, and guts. So if all three are not in a line, then hey, forget it. And, sometimes that's hard for us guys. And when I say us guys, we don't, we really don't have that feeling sometimes, that intuition as much. So, hey, if all three are not in a line, maybe we need to not do that. But when it comes back to it, you mentioned a couple key things is being willing to allow others to pour into it, into the child's life. Right now I'm down in South Florida, wrapping up from a conference, 100 Black Men, and that's what we're about. The motto is what they see is what our motto is what they see is what they'll be. And so, I mean, one of the most amazing days of the show was yesterday, Saturday morning. The youth that had come in on a Wednesday night, Thursday morning, literally put on a 2.5 hour show. And when I tell you, it'll blow you out the water. But you have to believe there was some mentoring going on, and there were men pouring into their lives back home. I know in our chapter, we some of the things that we do with our youth, it helps them to get over that stage fear. It helps them to know to look a person in the eye, know that, hey, if we start at 9 o'clock, that means you need to be here at 8:45. It knows that I can disagree with you without having to, raise my hands to settle that. And so little things like that add value as part of that journey that, you get from your life dads, is what I call, those mentors. And then the other side of that is I challenge any man out there to find a place they can plug in because you learn a lot. You learn a lot. And, just amazing, and funny stories. So I was here, I was doing some interviewing and, just two young men that stick out to me, two guys from the UK. I mean, I just love those Jaden and, gosh, I can't think of the other guy's name, but, when I saw him on stage Saturday, I interviewed him on Wednesday afternoon, but I saw him on Saturday. I'm like, gosh, these guys, they're so full of life but they're moving forward. And one of them said he has a job in a restaurant because, he was taught the importance of looking someone in the eye and smiling when you talk to them. So he's a waiter now at 16 or 17. And so it's just little things like that over time accumulates. We didn't learn everything overnight. As men, oftentimes we want to think that we know it all. First of all, that's wrong. Two is we didn't learn it overnight. We got a lot of bruises and missteps that other people never see. And so that is, that's one of the things that we have to be open about. And that's what we try to help capture, let others see that and, see those missteps.
It's, I think, Howard, I look at, my life, and I didn't find this out until I believe it was, actually, I happened to have my dad on the show back in December. It was right around Christmas time. And he happened to be here. We were celebrating Christmas here and had him on the show, put him on the spot. And he thankfully joined. And he said something that I didn't know in the at that time, the 42 years that I had been living, I didn't know that my dad, when I was, I think he said I was, I was an adolescent, maybe early teen years. He was on at summer camp, TDY, in the Army. He was a command sergeant major, and I had called him one time. I was having some trouble with basketball, and he said I had called him crying. So I must have done. I just have probably had a terrible game, but he was gone, and he said at that point is when he knew that it was time for him to retire. He was ready to make the shift from, serving his country, and he was still always going to be serving his country because, I mean, he was, you're on call, but he
Right.
said, now's the time I need to be staying home more often. And I look, Howard, let's just say 30 years later, and it's a wonder why I'm such a big advocate of the harmony, of the rhythm, and why I preach it to families and why I've turned down jobs. And Howard, you know this, I've turned down jobs that were taking me away from my family. So it's so important and it's so key that you set the tone. My dad set the tone, and 30 years later, look at it. Look at the effects, because I don't play when it comes to my family. And my wife knows that I'm constantly saying, we need to adjust this. We're not spending enough time together. So, Howard, I think this Real Dad, Real Leaders, the book, it needs to be it needs to be in the prison system. It needs to be where dads are reading it with their sons. I think moms need to be reading it with their sons if the fathers are absent. But this, I think, is a compelling book because I've never seen it from this perspective. So, all those out there, I'm going to put this on here again. I believe Colette said you can get your signed copy. Go ahead and get that little bit.ly URL. It's right there at the bottom. Howard, you can find him on Facebook. You can find his Howard one more time for people that want to join this group and just stay active and get updates. Where can they go?
Yeah, so the book is called Real Dad, Real Leaders. So Real Dad, Real Leaders is the actual Facebook and the group, so they can join there. And also, as you said, she did post the bit.ly link. The team posted the bit.ly link at the page. And so that is, as we get those books in, we will be signing those books and actually mailing them out to you this time next week for that. And so that is with the live book, I mean, the hard copies. And then you can also go to the Amazon page that you posted, Marcus, and people can get that tonight. So they can start reading the book tonight via Kindle.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much, Howard. So, Howard, all right, give us some of the more compelling stories. Take us on the journey of reading this book. Give people a glimpse into it. What was one of the more compelling stories in the book that people, just to give them a little teaser, one of the more compelling stories. Can you share one of those with us?
Yeah, as I had to go back through it and recapture everything, I say compelling. They were all unique in different ways, and it really showed me things. Like one guy shared with me, and the story is called "No Potty Mouth." But it was his dad never would curse around them, but as he got grown, he realized his dad cursed a lot, but he never cursed around his kids. And it was just that, modeling what you want them to be. And this guy, I know him well, he doesn't curse, but and so we pull from that the story of the men never meeting their dads. Insurance agent up in Texas, in Dallas area, Fort Worth area, a guy named Vince Adams. He was sharing, he's divorced, was raising his son, and son star athlete, great grades, and came down with a neurological disease. Summer of his 8th grade or 9th grade year, and got to the point where they didn't even know if he was going to graduate from high school. So you go from this being on top of the world and go to dealing with a situation like this here as a business owner, a dad, and just as he said, many nights he didn't know what to do other than pray. But really driving through that and being open and transparent about that. And so, stories like that help men that may be in that situation as a dad, and that is the mission of it. So if a dad picks it up, going through a similar situation, and say, "Wow, okay, other folks are going through what I'm going through. Oh man, I can make through this," or even may even reach out to them. And as we grow the community, that's where we want the community to be. So when we, fast forward 2 months, 3 months from now, a call like this inside of our group, like we're doing tonight, maybe 3 or 4 dads just having a discussion around one topic. I was talking to a chief of police, saw him with his sons out at a festival and event, just hanging out and talking about, kid was talking about he had beat his dad playing basketball but so I told him, I said, hey, I want to get you on in August or September and talk about that, being a dad and a police officer, but things that we can do to help our young men when it comes to law enforcement and around that. So just different topics, being able to take that and have a platform where real men can have real talk and grow into the leaders that they are destined to be.
So Howard, and I love that, because for years, when we were growing up, I know mom and dad argued. However, we never saw that. And I mean, they would have, in front of us a little, it'd be a little, not even a back and forth, but I know that they probably had knockdown, drag out arguments, but me and Leland and Timmy never saw that. Now, when we got a little older, and I think, we were married, we still would never really see that. I appreciate it because, again, it was a healthy respect for us as children that there were certain things we could not comprehend or conceive. And this leads me to my next point that we want to talk about, right? Here's some interesting statistics. It says children who live absent their biological fathers are on average at least 2 to 3 times more likely to be poor, to use drugs, to experience educational, health, emotional, and behavioral problems, to be victims of child abuse, and to engage in criminal behavior than their peers who live with their married, biological, or adoptive parents. Um, Howard, I mean, again, the statistics are showing this, right? How do you how do you manage this when it says these? And I'm just giving you a few more things, right? Fathers who live with their children are more likely to have a close, enduring relationship with their children than those who do not. So this isn't a knock on the fact that you, as a father, might have divorced the biological mother, or you guys were never married, but the children are living in single parent homes. How
Yeah.
can you make sure that you still are a factor in making sure that your child, your son, your daughter doesn't fall into this statistical category?
Well, I think it just has to be a personal commitment. It has to be a personal commitment from that standpoint. I heard it best. Dr. Dennis Kimball said it one time. Heard him speak, and he said he was more fearful of of going home to his dad and had to sit across the table. That was kept him from doing stuff. And a lot of times, yeah, I think back, probably sometimes I was the same way. And so that's number one. But number two is just that whole conversation around it, on an ongoing basis. That whole conversation around it on a daily basis. The small things, I think, are the key things, because sometimes, as and Major's still young, uh, and everything you say is gospel. But as kids started to hit teenage years, parents were always tell the truth, tell the kids the truth, but it's not the gospel until someone else or life shows them. And
Good point. That's a good point.
but you, your responsibility as a parent, as a dad, is to teach them and put them in the right positions.
Good
And
point.
that's what you have to do. And that is what I mean, that's what I try to do. I can't, I made a lot of mistakes, and it wasn't because my parents didn't do what they were supposed to do. I didn't do what I was supposed to do, but I had to learn through that. Oftentimes, they may could have stopped it, but they had to let me learn it. And fortunately, it didn't cause me any bodily harm or something that I couldn't come out of eventually. So with that, I think that we have to have that discernment and sometimes that restraint to allow that to happen.
No, I completely agree. Like my parents used to say, a hard head makes for a soft behind, right? My parents, and this is just me, but my parents believed in corporal punishment, right?
Yeah.
I got those spankings. Um, I still remember my last spanking to this day. Now, I mean, it wasn't a spanking. It was more so, I think, y'all, and this is funny, but I have look, my transparency is your deliverance. All right. That's my new tagline. My transparency is your deliverance. I think my last whooping, yes. In most time in the black community, we say whoopings, right? I got my last whooping at I think I was 17 and I was ditching school. And y'all, I'm just letting you know. Now I love my wife, so baby, I'm just letting you know. I love you. So this is before I met you. But I was ditching school with my girlfriend at the time. My dad just happened to come to the school to drop off something to me. I can't even remember what he was needing to drop off to me. And I wasn't there. So he was waiting because Howard, one thing you didn't miss, and I was never going to miss, was basketball practice. So I'm coming in, I come in about 2 o'clock.
Well, see, that was a key thing there, Marcus. You had another dad sitting waiting for you at basketball practice.
Man, I had Coach Holzman, and see him and Coach Holzman. My dad was coached by Coach Holzman, 30 years prior or 20 years prior. So Coach Holzman knew my dad, knew me, and so he was embarrassed, right? And I was wrong, and so I mean he knuckled me up, right? I mean it was time. That was my last one, and I'll tell you to this day again, respect my father to the end of the world. My dad is the only man that if he said he was disappointed in me, I would start crying right now. The world is ending because I have such great respect for him. So again, Howard, that didn't come without him investing time in me. And again, this is the only man. And I'm just, I say my dad, if he says he's disappointed in me, and he has, the last time I think he said it to me, he had a reason to be. But if he said it now, even I'm 43, I have my own family. If my dad said, "Son, I'm disappointed in you, and what you did, Dad, what do we got to do to fix it?" My mom the same way. My wife the same way. These are the people I care about. But my point is, Howard, that wouldn't have came without that investment of time. And that's where my dad was a leader in my home. So.
No, and you're absolutely right. So going back to the original question to kind of tie it up there a little bit, is that it takes that, and you can't always change the situation between the parents. You can't always control that. So with that said, is that you have to help the child understand it and work through it, whatever situation they're in. And once again, it's that pouring of additional voices, and it has to be voices of common values for that to happen.
Yeah.
And Von Johnson posted something actually inside of Real Dad, Real Leaders. I'm just looking back on June 14th. It's estimated approximately 90% of all males have never been told "I love you" or "I'm proud of you" by their fathers, just like what you said. And so it's that whole confirmation. That is a confirmation. And this he posted in the group, and I'm just going in the group looking here. And so I think that once again, like you said, you would feel bad if your dad said you disappointed him. And it's because of that ultimate respect you have for him.
Absolutely. I think that's staggering, Howard, right? So Howard, I want to bring this up because this brings me back to something Eric Anderson we talked about, Pastor Eric Anderson, we talked about a couple of months ago when I had him on my show, and we were talking about the things that they wish a father had told them. These were men in our age that they wish their father told them. And you know what? This was one of them. But to hear the statistic, 90% of all males have never been told "I love you" by their own father. Here's the thing. I knew my father loved me. Now, he wasn't big on saying it. Like, me, I tell Major I love him like 8 times a day. I mean, he knows it. And I'm like, "Hey, son, I love you." But I'll turn around, we're riding in the car. I mean, he's eating Cheerios. I'm like, "Hey, son, love you, buddy." "Love you, Dad." And so my dad didn't say it, but I knew it unequivocally. I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that my dad loved me. And so I want to make sure we let those fathers off the hook that might not be as vocal as they need to be. I want you to stretch and say it. But if you have a father that's not vocal, but loves you, tell him you love him anyway. Because I think Eric, Pastor Anderson, he even said it, Howard. He said, "Marcus, I can tell my dad I love him right now, and it's a little hard for him to just say it. He'll be like, 'All right, son.' I can't remember how Eric phrased it, but he'll be like, 'All right, son.' But he knew his father loved him. So, it's just that statistic is staggering. But I also want to make sure that we know that there are fathers out there that they do love their sons.
Yeah, it's a key thing, and it has to be part of our ongoing conversation, both showing it as well as, and just as showing as well as verbalizing it, because it has to be done, multiple ways, multiple times, and it has to be an ongoing. And Miranda, Alan Chenault said, it's heartbreaking. It is, but it's part of that whole, I think, removing the mold. There was a mold, and there was a mold of what a man was supposed to be: tough, the exterior was unbreakable, and it had to be shown that at all times. And we realized that didn't necessarily serve us best. It did serve us well, but it may not have served us best. And my grandfather, I knew he loved me dearly, and it just I remember seeing, I'd never seen him cry. I saw him cry a little bit at my college graduation, and just to but those experiences and those moments, when you think back to that relationship, helped shape me to be the person I am today. And so the blessing of having those individuals in your life, the blessing of Major being able to go spend time with his grandparents without you there. So your dad is passing things through to him, unfiltered.
Absolutely.
And, he won't understand that for another maybe 20 years. And that is the power, of making sure that dads are there. The real men are there, for their sons and daughters.
No, I completely agree. I mean, Howard, I want to touch on this too. So you have the book, Real Dads, Real Leaders. This is your 4th book. I know the audience is wondering now, okay, I can't leave them on a cliffhanger. Those other 3 books, what are they about? Because I'm sure if I know you, they're on leadership. So what are those other 3 books about, just in case somebody does want to look at purchasing those as well?
All right, so the first one is just around some of the missteps and mistakes I've made in my business.
Oh, guys, wait a minute. My buddy Howard we just lost his connection for some odd reason. Um, Unsure why that happened. I'm sure he'll be dialing back in just a second. Um, while we're waiting for him to dial back in, we can still talk about real dads, real fathers. Something I want to share with you is one. I look at what my father has been able to bring into our life. Me, my brother, I'll say, my other brother, he's me and Leland's nephew, but he was raised like our brother because he was with us. I think starting at age 2. Hey, what's going on, Howard? Glad you're back in. You there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. But I was just telling them, a few things about our father. So, some of the things that he also passed down to me, Howard, was my ability to be sensitive. And so here's the juxtapositioning, the harmony, the rhythm that my dad passed on to us. One, he didn't say I love you a lot. Now, he would say it, but it wasn't a lot. Me, and I know Leland is the same way. I'm almost for certain probably Timmy's the same way too. But me, Leland is always constantly telling his kids he loves them, right? I tell that to Major constantly. But what my dad, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, my dad would cry in a heartbeat, right? If something touched him, if he was overcome with emotion, my dad would cry. So, in some respects, I'm a complete 180. I say I love you a lot to my kids. But one thing he did transfer over that I'm right spot on is I'll cry at the drop of a dime, right? I'm in a movie with my wife and I'm watching one of them Lifetime movies or something. I'm crying. Okay. And I like that. I'm crying McKnight. At any point I see something on the news, I'm touched by it. I'm crying. And you know what? I'm okay with that because that's the new template of a real man. A real man is not afraid to show his emotion. I used to do that when I was going after my wife, when I was chasing her, I would cry, at certain movies just because I wanted to show her that I was a sensitive guy, but I was faking then. I was pulling them tears, Howard. And so she doesn't know that was part of all the plan. I was faking. I'm a good actor, Chris. I got you now. I'm just letting you know, Chris, if you're watching this, I was faking. All right. So I'm a good actor, but I still love you, but I had to get you. Okay. So look, look at this, Howard, as we're touching, and we got 10 more minutes, guys. We got 10 more minutes. Then Howard's got to prepare for his next broadcast. Here's my nephew, my brother, Tim. I just saw him. Wow, they might be back in Dallas, but here's what Tim said. Tim grew up with us, Howard. Now I want you to hear this. The vocal "I love you" from Dad. He calls Dad Pops. The grandkids call him Papa. He said the vocal "I love you" from Pops got me through depressing moments. Now I want you to understand how, because we're dealing with such a state of what's the word? This mental illness of depression. This is real, guys, right? So you as a father, if you're not saying, I love you enough to your children, oh, Howard, the lighting is great. I want you to understand it's needed. You never know what your children are sometimes going through. But I will tell you, real men do cry. Real men, real fathers do it. And I'm just telling you, you got to make it happen, right? So here's the thing. Howard, give us some more of those good.
Yeah, so real quick, and got limited time, but top secrets, just practical steps of working on your business and in your business. Combination of both. You hear the phrase "work on your business," but you still got to work in it to get to the point where you can only work on it. And so that was one, and then two. Southern Grades was born out of an idea where interviewed highly accomplished graduates of Southern University, and we talked about 8 principles that embodied the university, and uh, similar concept to Real Dad, Real Leaders, to where we've helped see through those leaders' life. I mean, people like General Russell Honore to Aeneas Williams. So just some very high level people that people know, but then all the way to individuals that highly accomplished, but you may never know them. They could walk up to you right now and you'd be like, who is this guy? Who is this lady? And so, that was, and then 15K and 45. So we literally took the process that we use in helping our clients and put it into a book. And so where people can begin to implement, like I said, they can realize it first and then they can live-lize it. They can go out and live-lize it.
Whoa,
So,
oh, wait a minute, Howard. Wait a minute. Say that one again. That's another nugget. Say that one again.
First, you got to realize it, the idea, and then you got to go and live-lize it. You got to implement it. You got to live-lize it. So just creating words. New words are added every year to the dictionary. So live-lize is going to be one of those words to get added. That's a verb.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Wow. So, guys, I want you to understand something as well. Howard is great at creating these combinatorial words for your business that you're just like, that's it. And so, again, if you're looking for a business coach, and I'm just putting this out there because, again, we invest in Howard because of the value he brings to the ideas we're trying to bring to fruition and execute on. Realize it so you can live-lize it. Thank you, Taff. I was about to write it. Taff just said it. Realize it so you can live-lize it. Guys, this is what it's about. So again, just like Real Dads, Real Leaders, Howard's has some additional books that are always trying to push you towards the precipice of greatness. You got to live it though. You got to execute on it. So let's take it a little step deeper, Howard. What are you going to be? Are you doing some Facebook Lives to talk about the book? What are you doing? The next few months, over the next course of the year, where people.
Our vision is the third. Current vision, current plan is the third Sunday of every month will be Real Dad, Real Leaders Day. And so we're going to be bringing on guests, like one of the guests at one of the authors, Willie Jolly. He talked about speaking to your children what you want them to be, and he shared that story. Dr. Dennis Frazier talked about, not Dennis Frazier, Dr. Frazier talked about the importance of, staying connected. He shared how his, they were foster children, but still his dad was connected in their lives, their whole life. He would even pick them up on holidays from that time, from the foster homes. And so, and bring them together. He couldn't raise them day to day just because their mother had passed away, but he really talked about that. And so, just bringing individuals like that on it from time to time to once a month to really go through a subject, take a couple hours if necessary, to where a man can ask them a question and just share openly from that standpoint. So that's that's part of it. We're available to speak around the topic and how we tied into our other leadership training. One of them is discovering your signature leadership style. And so literally understanding what style of leader you are and how you can best implement that principle in the environment you're in. So those are some things that we're looking to do, things that we're going to do, things that we're going to live-lize. So we realized the idea, now we've begun to live-lize it. And so that's where we are with it.
Excellent. No, this is some good stuff, guys. I hope that if you haven't enjoyed it, I think you're lying, right? I think you're trying to be funny. This has really been some great, valuable content. Thank you, Howard, for giving us your time. This book, guys, yours truly is part I guess you could say, could you say I'm a co-author, Howard? I'm all
You're
right.
a contributing author. You're a contributing author.
I'm a
That's the official
contributing
title.
author to this book. I talk about the relationship with my dad and how important it was to me. Hey, this is my Uncle Larry, Howard. He says, one thing we all have to remember is that it's never too late to tell our children that we love them. I realized that late in my daughter's life, but I tell her that all the time now. Again,
Hey man, I love that profile picture, of your Uncle Larry. That's real
no,
cool.
and if you don't know my Uncle Larry, he loves his daughter. Now, she might not have heard it till later on in life, but everybody across the world who knows my uncle knows that he loves my cousin Kia. With beyond a shadow of a doubt, would give up his own life, and I mean I can say that again like unequivocally. No, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not embellishing. My uncle, if a surgeon said, you know what? And I think a lot of people think that, that's all valiant. No, my uncle, he'd give up his life for his daughter. He wouldn't even think about it. And I think most parents are like that. I think, depending on what stage your child is at. If they're a teenager, you might not give up your life for them, when they go
Well, you may think once.
you think about, you have to think about it. But it's true. So, Howard, this has really been a really great show. I wanna ask you this one last question,
Yeah.
right? Your son, if you were on your deathbed, and we have to think about this, right? We don't know when that's happening. We're gonna die. We're all gonna die one day. But if you were on your deathbed, what would be the most pivotal thing, the most important thing that you would want to leave with your son? What would be that one thing?
I don't know if it's one thing. I just wanted to. I want to leave the piece of that. I was there for him before he needed it, and that's hard to see. Just recently, I lost an uncle who's was like one of my life dads, I call it, and the stories, and so you're at the funeral and you're hearing these things that people from all walks of life, what they're sharing about him, and that's what he wanted his legacy to be, and but he lived it and he made it happen. That was the key thing, and that's all I want. I mean, to me, that is it.
Wow. I've never heard that before, Howard. And I ask that question a lot of fathers.
Well, you think about it, Marcus. You do things, and there are things that your dad did for you and made things easier for you that he never told you about, and you wonder why this relationship happened. Mentors do the same, and you wonder why this happened, or you met this person, or when you went in, you were received so well. One, it was because of his name. One, it was because of his relationship. Two, he may have already begged for you. It may have gotten down to that. Hey, I got to have this one for him, okay? And so it was yours to mess up versus, yours to go and get. And that's what you do.
Wow. I love the way you stated that, that I was there for you before you needed it. And again, definitely before you knew it. That's huge.
They don't have to. They don't have to know it because you're doing it for an unselfish reason. So you don't need to know. There are times when you think about the relationship, you do the things, and if they don't know that you did it, that's fine.
That's right. That's right. Because it's unselfish. You're doing it for them. I love it, Howard. This is good stuff, guys. I want you to understand this. Hey, Edward Womack, thank you, man. Miranda, you have been amazing today in terms of your activity. My dad, my uncle, my brother Tim, everybody. And if I went through it to Rhea, of course, my wife, my man, that's my girl. She believes in me. I don't even have to ask. I know my wife believes in me. So this has just been a great day. Edward, thank you for saying that, man. Happy Father's Day to all you kings out there. If you have not, yeah, go ahead, Howard.
I was just saying, shout out to Ed Womack, Mr. Detroit himself.
Hey man, thank you for joining, Edward. Man, we're about to jump on this other broadcast. Howard, hey y'all, this conversation is going to be continued in about another 30 minutes. So, Howard, can you tell everybody if they want to hear some more of this, where do they need to go to get on your live broadcast? And Taria, maybe you can post that so everybody can see
Yeah,
it.
so two things. We'll be streaming it from our personal page. Actually, I know Terrell doesn't like that, and I'm smiling as she says as I say that. But and also it'll be inside of Have Your Best Week Ever group. It's a group we have on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time. We share every week something to help you have your best week, and so I thought this would be a great conversation. I'll be interviewing Marcus, so I'll be flipping the strip, so to speak. I'll be in the big chair, as Tom Joyner would say, and but we'll be doing that and spend 45 minutes to an hour together around that, and we'll be talking about real dads and saluting the dads in our lives as we move forward through this through that call. So hey, you can jump over on Facebook if you're not part of either one of those groups. Shame on you, but you do not have to live in shame. Just click over, go to Real Dad, Real Leaders, Facebook, as well as Have Your Best Week Ever. And so those are the two places that it definitely will be at.
Absolutely. Thank you, Howard. Guys, another blended family playbook done and delivered. Please continue to share this broadcast. This is great information. People need to hear it. If you remember, sharing is caring. So share often. Share this broadcast again and again, because again, people need to hear this. So share with your friends, share with your community. Howard, thank you again. This has been amazing. To all you viewers, all you who commented, thank you so much. It is appreciated. It means a lot because you're taking time out of your Sunday to listen to a guy from Albuquerque and this other guy from Louisiana. Howard, you're from Louisiana originally, right?
No, from small town Mississippi, Prentice, Mississippi.
All right, Mississippi, but he lives in Louisiana now. I think the greatest state. Look, it should be its own country because the food is so good. So thank you again. Hey, Taria, thank you. She just posted that, guys. If you want to watch this live broadcast again, or I should say this broadcast you can always look at. But if you want to get on Howard's broadcast at 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, you're going to go to his Facebook group, Have Your Best Week Ever. Okay. Thanks again, Howard. I'm going to let you go so you can get ready. And y'all, if you want to hear more of this, and I'm dropping nuggets next time. I'm dropping them, Howard. I'm taking some of the ones that I've taken from you. I'm dropping them on your show. It's going to be some really good transparent stuff. Remember, guys, my new tagline, I got some new branding coming out. My transparency, your deliverance. All right. So join us at 8 p.m. Talk to you later, Howard. Thank you so much. Tell your wife, thank you for giving me some of your time. All right.
All right, man.
All right, y'all have a good
one. See you
y'all next week. We got another special guest coming next Sunday. It's going to be amazing. She's from Canada, and she brings it all the time. You're going to see the digital graphics coming here soon. Got a great person coming. So talk to y'all soon. Howard, thank you. See you in about 20 minutes.
All right.